You cancel plans and feel relieved. Not guilty. Not sad. Just relieved. You make yourself a cup of tea, sit in the quiet, and think, this is actually perfect. But your friend, she cancels plans and spirals. She calls 3 people immediately. She cannot stand being alone for more than an hour. Same world. Completely different experience. So what's going on? Why do some people genuinely love being alone, while others find it almost painful? Is it personality? Childhood? The brain? Some kind of trauma? The answer is actually a mix of all of these. And once you understand it, you'll never see yourself, or other people, the same way again. It starts in the brain. Let's start with the basics. Your brain has a reward system. When something feels good, food, a hug, a compliment, your brain releases a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine basically says, hey, do that again. Now here's where it gets interesting. Scientists found that introverts and extroverts don't just behave differently. Their brains actually respond differently to the same situation. Extroverts get a big dopamine hit from social interaction. Being around people, talking, laughing, going out, it genuinely feels rewarding to them. Their brain lights up. So naturally, they chase it. But introverts, their dopamine system is a little different. They can get that same good feeling from much quieter things. A book, a walk alone, a creative project. Their reward system doesn't need the crowd. Some researchers also found that introverts have higher baseline arousal in the brain, meaning they're already running at a higher internal stimulation level. So when you add loud music, crowds, and non-stop conversation on top of that, it becomes too much. It's not that they hate people, it's that their brain is already full. Extroverts, on the other hand, have lower baseline arousal. They need external stimulation to feel alive and energized. Without it, they feel flat, bored, empty. So right from the start, this isn't a choice. It's biology. But you're not born fully formed, okay, so the brain plays a big role. But that's not the whole story. Because humans aren't born as finished products. We're shaped by everything that happens to us, especially in childhood. Think about a kid who grows up in a loud, chaotic house. Always people around. Always noise. Always someone needing something from them. For some kids, that environment teaches them that solitude is a gift. That being alone means peace, safety, control. So they learn to love it. Then think about another kid who grew up lonely. Maybe they moved a lot. Maybe they were an only child. Maybe they were bullied. For them, being alone carries a heavy feeling. It reminds them of rejection. So even as adults, solitude triggers that same old uncomfortable feeling. Same behavior, being alone, completely different emotional meaning. There's also something called attachment style. When you're a baby, the way your caregiver responds to you shapes how you feel about people in general. If someone was always there when you cried, you grew up feeling safe with others. People feel like comfort to you. But if your caregiver was unreliable, distant, or overwhelming, you might have learned that people are unpredictable, and that you're better off relying on yourself. Those patterns follow you into adulthood. They affect whether you run toward people or pull away from them. It's not just introversion. Here's a mistake a lot of people make. They assume that everyone who loves being alone is just introverted. But it's more complicated than that. There are actually different reasons why people enjoy solitude. And they're not all the same. Reason 1. Restoration. Some people are just wired to recharge in quiet. Social interaction uses up energy for them. Being alone fills it back up. This is classic introversion. They enjoy being alone because it restores them, not because they dislike people. Reason 2. Creativity. A lot of creative people, writers, artists, programmers, musicians, find that their best ideas come when they're alone. No interruptions. No opinions. Just them and their thoughts. For these people, solitude isn't lonely. It's where the magic happens. Reason 3. Highly sensitive people. Some people are what psychologists call highly sensitive. They process everything more deeply: emotions, sensory input, other people's energy. Being around people isn't just tiring for them, it can be genuinely overwhelming. They don't just hear the conversation, they feel every shift in mood, every tension, every unspoken thing in the room. Alone time is how they decompress. Reason 4. Avoidance. And then there are people who love being alone because interacting with others feels risky. Maybe they've been hurt before. Maybe they're dealing with anxiety. Maybe they've learned that people eventually leave or disappoint. So solitude feels safe, not because it brings them joy, but because it protects them. This last type looks exactly the same from the outside, but the internal experience is completely different. One person sits alone and feels content. Another sits alone and feels hidden. The loneliness paradox. Now here's something wild. You can be completely alone and feel zero loneliness. And you can be surrounded by 100 people and feel utterly, completely alone. Loneliness isn't about being by yourself. It's about feeling disconnected. People who genuinely enjoy solitude have usually figured out something important. They feel connected to themselves. They're comfortable in their own mind. Their own company doesn't bore or frighten them. That's actually a skill, and not everyone has it. People who struggle with being alone often have a difficult relationship with their own thoughts. The moment it gets quiet, the noise starts. Am I good enough? Do people actually like me? What's wrong with me? Why did I say that 3 years ago? Being alone means being stuck with that voice. So they avoid it. They keep the TV on. They scroll constantly. They fill every moment with something, anything, so they don't have to sit with themselves. This is also why solitude can feel very different depending on whether it's chosen or forced. Research actually confirms this. People who choose to be alone report higher well-being, more creativity, and better mood. People who are forced into isolation, whether through rejection, circumstance, or social exclusion, report higher depression and anxiety. The alone time is the same. The meaning behind it changes everything. Society has an opinion about this. Let's talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough. Society has decided that being social is the default setting for a healthy, successful person. Networking, teamwork, going out, being fun, being available. If you're a social butterfly, you're seen as confident and likable. If you prefer staying home, people start asking questions. Are you okay? Are you depressed? Do you need help? This creates a weird pressure on people who genuinely enjoy solitude. They're made to feel like something is wrong with them, like they're broken or antisocial or missing out. And over time, some of them start to believe it. But here's the truth. Introversion is not a disorder. Enjoying your own company is not a red flag. Needing space is not the same as being cold. In fact, research shows that people who are comfortable with solitude tend to have stronger emotional regulation. They're better at understanding their own feelings. They're less likely to make impulsive decisions because they actually spend time thinking things through. There's a reason some of the most creative, intelligent, and impactful people in history were deeply private individuals. They weren't broken. They were just running on a different kind of fuel. What about the people who can't stand it? So what about the other side? What about people who genuinely cannot be alone? This is also more complex than it looks. Some people are just naturally high on the extroversion scale. They need stimulation. They need connection. They need people. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just how their brain works. But for some people, the inability to be alone comes from somewhere deeper. If you were never taught how to self-soothe as a child, if someone always rushed in to distract you from your feelings, you might have never learned how to just sit with yourself. If you grew up in an environment where silence meant something was wrong, maybe tension in the house, or a parent in a bad mood, you might have learned to fear quiet. If you've experienced significant loneliness or rejection in your past, being alone might feel like reliving all of that. For these people, being with others isn't just fun, it's regulating. It calms their nervous system. It tells them they're okay. The problem is when that need becomes a dependency. When they can't make decisions without running them by others. When they feel physically anxious if they spend an evening alone. When they would rather be in a bad relationship than be by themselves. That's not extroversion anymore. That's something worth paying attention to. Can you change? People ask this a lot. Can introverts become more social? Can people who hate being alone learn to enjoy it? The honest answer is yes, but probably not in the way you think. You can't rewire your base personality. An introvert is never going to become a full extrovert. And someone who is naturally high energy and social probably isn't going to become a hermit. But you can build your tolerance and your skills. Introverts can practice being social in ways that feel manageable: small groups, meaningful conversations, time limits. They might not love it like an extrovert does, but they can do it without burning out completely. And people who struggle with being alone, they can practice it too. Start small. 10 minutes of sitting without your phone. A short walk with no music. Journaling. Slowly building a relationship with your own thoughts. Over time, solitude can stop feeling like a threat. It can start feeling like something else entirely. So, why do some people enjoy being alone more than others? Because their brains are wired differently. Because of what they learned growing up. Because of what being alone means to them: peace or pain, restoration or rejection. There is no right answer. No correct setting. Some people are solar-powered. They need the crowd, the noise, the energy of others to feel alive. Some people are more like plants in a quiet room. They grow best in calm, in stillness, in space to breathe. Neither one is broken. But if you're someone who loves being alone, stop apologizing for it. And if you're someone who struggles with it, it might be worth asking yourself what you're running from. Because the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And that one, it's available 24 hours a day, no plans required.